welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I can see you're busy, so we'll just leave.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Burglar, which came out in 1987, directed by Hugh Wilson. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Whoopi Goldberg's character, Bernice Rodenbar. She's a cat burglar and has been hired by Dr. Sheldrake, a dentist, to steal some jewellery from her ex-husband. Bernice is caught up in the murder of the ex-husband and now has to investigate the murder with her crazy friends and find out who really did it.
Hey, let's go.
This film's actually based on a series of books by Lawrence Block.
Really?
And this wasn't originally intended for Whoopi Goldberg, as the central character in those series of books is a male character.
Right, okay.
And Bruce Willis was originally hired to play the character, and Whoopi Goldberg was going to play the neighbour,
Right.
who is cast as Carl.
Right.
In the actual film.
Yeah.
But early into production, Bruce Willis was just like, you know what, this isn't for me, and he walked. And so they were like, well, we got Whoopi Goldberg, let's just put her in the lead role.
Wait. He walked out on Burglar, but he did Hudson Hawk.
Yeah.
Okay, logic there.
And of course, this is one of those films that Hollywood, I guess, decided would be the vehicle to keep pushing Whoopi Goldberg to try and make her into kind of the new Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. I'd never heard of this movie, you know. I big fan of Jumpin' Jack Flash, you know, said it in the review, watched it back in the day, it was late on TV. And immediately when Gary said that we were reviewing this, and I did sneakingly wiki it, I was like, oh right, okay, it's one of those films. I mean, it's one of those late 80s Whoopi Goldberg movies.
Right.
You know, like I'm a big fan of The Color Purple, you know,
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg, Whoopi Goldberg, absolutely amazing. You know, like I said, I really like Jumpin' Jack Flash, but I know that after that point, there were just a lot of hits and misses.
For me, quite a few misses.
Yeah, well, yeah, there are a few misses. There are a few gems, but, you know, after this, you'd have Fatal Beauty in 1987 as well. And I remember when we did Jumpin' Jack Flash, somebody I know came up to me and they were like, you have to do Fatal Beauty. Absolutely love that movie. That's a great Whoopi Goldberg movie. And I thought to myself, while Burglar started, I'm like, I bet you there's like a group in society of people who've either seen Jumpin' Jack Flash, or Burglar, or Fatal Beauty.
But very few have seen all three.
Very few have seen all three of them all at once. You know, with this one, I mean, it just starts off so awkwardly as well. Like, the music starts off, but then you just get this phone call, and you can hear Whoopi Goldberg's voice, and she's being told that, you know, she needs to go out and get this stuff, like, immediately. So you can hear the hesitation in her voice, like she's worried that this person is dangerous, that she's going up against. And then you just see her walking down the street.
Yeah, I quite liked the first 5-10 minutes of this film.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm probably going to enjoy this. Like, as the film was going on, of the first opening, I was like, I'm going to sink into this. This could be quite funny. And watching her dressed up as the old lady,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just like, okay, so she's going to sneak into this house. You know, she breaks the lock, or she lock picks to get in.
Yeah.
She's looking around. She's snooping around the house and looking, you know, figuring out who this person is and looking for the valuables.
Yeah.
And, you know, she sat back and she's lighting up a cigarette. But then you see the jogger coming back because...
Yeah, but this is it. I'm already kind of in the motif at this point of, like I said, watching her walk down the street and break into the house. She's a professional cat burglar. You know, Whoopi Goldberg's not just tripping on her own toes. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's got her whole ID ready to, you know, just to convince people. Like, she convinces that delivery guy that she's a maid of this house, signs for the box and just turns her back and walks into the house. And then stops. Once she's broken in that safe and she's got access to all of this shit, she sits down and decides to have a cigarette. I'm like, okay, here we go. Here's where your comedy elements of this movie start coming out because, well, she's a complete idiot in situations.
Well, the jogger sees the delivery man go past, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm supposed to have a delivery today."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he runs all the way back to the house. I like the shot where she sat there, and you see him in the background getting closer.
Yeah,
and you're
he's
just like,
faded.
"Do something!" Like,
Get
he's
out
coming
of there!
back.
Fucking run! And then when he comes back in and he stops and he's like, I smell smoke. And I'm like, yes, because she was fucking smoking in the house. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And so I like the way she kind of sneaks around. You know, she follows him out of the room, down the stairs, creeps out,
Yeah.
opens the door only for another car to be
the
approaching
limo
her.
driver, yeah.
Yeah, and I like the way she reveals that she held the cigarette in her mouth.
That was great. I like
Yeah,
that bit.
That was a nice reveal, and I was just like, well, how the fuck does she get out of this? Like, she is.
She's
fucked.
gonna lie to them. She's dressed up as an old black maid lady. They are totally gonna buy her story about some guys running off into the bush.
Yeah, man, it works. I was like, okay. So I was at that point, I was like, okay, maybe this film isn't going to be too bad.
I can see that. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm kind of saturated with a lot of Whoopi Goldberg character films. You know, where she's really good at what she does, but she keeps getting herself into these silly situations, and so she returns. She returns back to what at first I thought was her apartment, but then I realised actually this must be where Bobcat Goldthwait works.
Yeah.
Bobcat Goldthwait plays Carl, her friend, and well, if you don't know who Bobcat Goldthwait is, you need to watch more Police Academy movies. And if you get the chance, watch One Crazy Summer with John Cusack and Bobcat Goldthwait. And I was like, oh, he's going to be the comedy relief in this. You know,
Yeah.
he's got that high-pitched squeaky voice and he acts all crazy. But weirdly enough, this film takes kind of a bit of a realistic kind of tone
Right.
in the world, and so he's not just your crazy character. He's actually her friend, and he's cleaning these dogs. This is his job. And she goes next door, and she owns a bookstore.
Yeah, yeah.
Like she's a cat burglar who owns a bookstore.
See, I also thought this was a great sequence as well, where she's got a customer,
Yeah.
and she's ringing up through the till, and it comes up to like $56 or something, and he's just like, "Well, I'm not paying that for a single book."
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, what the hell is going on?" And then she pulls a gun on him
Yeah, she does.
and forces him to empty his bag out, and she realized. Well, the audience then realizes he had stole all those books while she was, in the store.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, you can't pull the wool over her eyes." And
A little bit of trivia for you. Do you recognise that guy?
no.
He is from John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, and he gets stabbed by the
Yes,
bicycle by Alice
yeah,
Cooper.
yeah.
As soon as I saw his face, I'm like, and I had to check. But we've got Captain Harris as well outside. Well, he's not really Captain Harris. G.W. Bailey, another great star from Police Academy, plays Ray, and he's a police detective.
Well, he's an ex-police detective as well as she being an ex-convict.
Yeah.
And so obviously there's the history there. He was the one that obviously brought her in.
Yeah, and he's got another piece of evidence that he's trying to tie to her, or that he's pretending to tie to her, because he knows that she's a really good cat burglar, and if she breaks into these people's places and steals the money, then he can retire early. And his wife really wants a mink coat.
Yeah. And so he kind of uses that as leverage onto her to go and steal for him so that he can have these luxuries.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm sat there and I'm like, okay, let's look at it. So she's a really good cat burglar. She's out of jail. She was the ex-boxing champion, in prison as well. She owns her own bookstore. She's set herself up a really good life, but she's got this corrupt cop on her back, making her do these things that she doesn't really want to do, but she does actually really does enjoy doing, because she's really good at it. And I'm sat there and I'm like, I know exactly how this is all going to play out. Like, without even having to research it, the dominoes are just being slightly placed down for me, saying there's going to be a mystery coming along, and I'm like, yeah, okay, film, okay.
Oh, please, spare me your ethical considerations.
Yeah, and so it kind of ends in them having a bit of a scrap, and she gets away, and he smashes up the door.
Which, yeah, he sent her to Dr. Sheldrake, though.
That's right.
She first goes to her fence to sell all the wares that she's stolen from the original guy, who I thought was going to come back. I thought maybe he was like a mob boss or something that was going to chase her down. But he's just a throwaway character. And the fence sends her to the dentist, played by Leslie Ann Warren. And this is where obviously the dentist explains to her about how her ex-husband has all of her jewelry, they're not together anymore and she really wants it back. And she can't go to the cops because there's this whole divorce procedure thing. This sequence was awkward as fuck.
Yeah. I was like, okay, it's kind of a forced comedy where she had this other male doctor that was trying to...
I wasn't even talking about that, but yeah, that was a fucking...
And he's rubbing his crotch right up against her hand on the chair. It's like, damn.
What the fuck,
So he gets sent off, and then she comes in, and then she's just trying to drill into her mouth.
Yeah, she gets that big massive needle, and she injects her in the mouth, and I'm just like, so you're just going to sit there and take this? And
it was such a forced comedy moment that part of my brain was like, maybe she's putting a wiretap in there or something, like a tracking device. I don't know, anything, because it was like, why are we having this not funny sequence?
That's it. With the tone of the movie, for me at this point, I didn't even see this as comedy. I saw this as kind of the doctor's way of torturing Bernice's character to say, if you fuck with me,
I'm going to rip out
your teeth.
Right.
But I'm looking at Bernice, and Bernice is just not doing anything to help her situation.
She just sinks into the chair.
And then gets grounded. And then we get sent off to the ex-husband's apartment. And she breaks into the apartment, and just like the beginning, I knew it was gonna fucking happen. She's searching around this apartment. The big ass TV shocked me.
Oh yeah.
Wow, like we had TVs like that back in the day, kids.
Big squares in the corner of the room.
Microwave, like image silhouette on the back wall. And she opens up the fridge and finds the jewellery, and she's all happy about it. And then she just decides to start looking for his wardrobe because, she's got all the time in the world.
Yeah. Or does she?
No.
And so she ends up hiding in the wardrobe as he has returned with another lover.
Yes, some
And
female. He's a known Lothario. He just goes out and shags women all over the place.
Right. So we get this extended kind of... She looks at her watch, it's 8 o'clock, and she looks at the time, and it's like almost 8:30, and the noises continue.
Yes, yeah, there was a lot of noises.
And then we get a kind of extended sex joke where he nakedly opens the closet, and she's on her knees.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah. And then, we don't even hear the woman leave.
No.
But he gets in the shower, and then there's a knock at the door, and Bernice can't escape because the wardrobe is locked from the outside. And so she has to stay inside and listen to the ex-husband and some stranger male voice argue. And then you hear a thud. She manages to break out and find the ex-husband's body on the floor with what I first thought was an ice pick.
You're right, yeah.
In his body, but it turns out it's a dentist skewer. And it turns out as well that Bernice's briefcase full of the jewellery is gone. So now you immediately know that she is obviously the prime suspect in this now murder case. And so she makes a run for it. So now that she is obviously the main suspect in this murder, Bernice is going to use all of her resources to try to find the real killer. But everybody fully believes that Bernice is the killer. Apart from Carl. Carl is like her best buddy and really cares for her and really wants her to obviously give up this wayward life. And I felt like, there should have been like a kind of love interest thing there. But it just sat uncomfortably as well between Bobcat Goldthwait's voice, and Whoopi Goldberg being such a strong, independent woman. There was really no need for his character at all, but he was kind of good there as comedy relief.
I don't know, maybe you could go like on the $25,000 pyramid, get the money.
Then you have obviously Ray, the ex-cop, who is wanting to bring her down, and this is where they do have the actual fight sequence in the bookstore between the two of them. I kept looking at G.W. Bailey and I kept thinking, I want to take you seriously, but I can't. This film is supposed to be a comedy, and I massively just know you as Captain Harris.
Right.
I kept expecting him to pull up that little stick and whack her on the head and be like, move it, but he didn't. His character was so serious. Like, he really wanted this money for his wife. And there's there's this moment where she rings him, like she's looking for help. and he's cooking fish out in the back garden. And he walks up to the phone, and she asks him for some help, and he says no, and then puts the phone down and leaves her. It's like I was hoping it would build up the fact that he's going to later turn up in the movie and save her. But even then, that didn't really play out well because the focus is so much on Bernice finding out who the killer is. And so you get the dentist in the police station, you know, obviously because she's the prime suspect.
Yeah.
But the dentist just says to her lawyer, like, oh, I told them everything. I sent a black woman to his house, you know, to steal some jewellery. So if anybody can prove that I'm not the killer, it's her.
Right. And so now the entire police force are now trying to track down Bernice.
Yeah, but I'm like, how stupid is this dentist? Because she's just pretty much told the police that she was an accessory to burglary.
Right.
And what could possibly be murder. So she's going to go to jail anyway. Even if it...
But the lawyer's just like, no, we'll sort this out. You'll be fine. Once we catch this other lady, you'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll clear all that up.
So what really happens now is it's kind of a detective mystery movie, you know, whodunit.
Yeah.
And it's, of course, now we're just going to be introduced to a bunch of red herrings.
Yeah. But we also get John Goodman and his partner turning up. Like, they're the main cops.
Yeah.
Like I kept forgetting that Ray was an ex-cop. I kept
Yeah.
thinking he was still working for the police force.
No.
You know, but he's not. These guys are the main guys.
There's a kind of funny sequence where all the police turn up at her apartment.
Yeah.
And she's got the police lock on the door. And the police, like, she tries to kick the door in and it hurts, and so she falls all the way down the stairs.
Like, what the Why? Why did they need to use so much excessive force? Like, I know it's a comedy, but it just...
Yeah, I mean, it takes the police force. They have to get fucking welding instruments and tools.
They get... Like, is her door... I couldn't work out if her door was made out of pure metal.
It didn't look like it.
Because they had to blowtorch that whole square, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but you just need to do the bar.
Right.
Or at least the hinges. Just
Right.
do the hinges
That's
on the
what I
left.
thought.
The door would fall...
I don't get it.
The cop climbs in and burns his testicles on the door, and then sets off an alarm that Bernice has built into the
Yeah.
wall of her apartment.
Yeah. Which, like, okay.
Yeah, I will admit though, John Goodman's acting in this is 10 times better than how he was in Chud.
We'd like to talk to you about that. But first, we'd like you to go brush your teeth.
Just wanted to throw that out there. But I did like his kind of partner and him doing their investigation, trying to find Bernice, because Bernice is always like 2 steps ahead.
Right.
You know, she starts to use Carl as well. They decide to go from bar to bar to see if they can find any friends of the ex-husband. You know, try to find out if he had any enemies. And like, I mean, I kind of like this bit where, you know, Carl has lined his stomach with olive oil so that they can drink all night. But then he's just sat at the bar just drinking while Bernice is doing all the investigation. And it's funny him putting on the voice. Does he put on the voice? Is it his real voice?
I don't know.
I don't know. I've never really wikied him, I suppose. But he's like trying to chat to women and he's just like, hey! Do you want a drink?
So what are you doing when you're not driving young guys wild?
Oh, you know, I'm so awkward at these bars. And I'm like, okay, Bernice, have you got your information yet? And Bernice...
Because we need to get him out of here.
Yeah, the olive oil is not working. I like that little joke though where like he just walks into the store, picks up the olive oil, drinks a bit, gives it to Bernice, she drinks a bit, puts the lid back on, he goes to put it back, she says no and makes him buy it.
Right.
Because somebody's going to buy it. And
Well,
then,
the moral there for her, for her is just like, it's not what you steal, it's
Yeah.
who you steal from.
who you steal from, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they move from bar to bar until they get some information from Neelix, who hasn't made his way to Voyager yet at this point. But he had been killed by the
This
alien
was the
bounty
only
hunters.
time I actually laughed in the whole film, because I was like, oh, it's Neelix and Guinan in a bar.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. The minute you walked in, I knew it.
No.
Yeah.
Really? My God.
But he passes them the information about this, lady of the night who's in this other bar. And so they go to this bar and they meet up this woman who was a fan of the ex-husband. Like she knows him and feels really bad that he's dead, because obviously even though he was a Lothario and just shagging everything in sight, he didn't have that many friends. So when the time came, because she doesn't have many friends, they actually found solace together, which I thought was really, really nice. She mentions about a businessman who, you know, they only knew as Johnny. Here's Johnny, the ex-husband would always say. And at this point, I was already starting to put two and two together. I was, 3.9 at least to where I thought that the story would go. Because I knew it wasn't going to be Bernice.
Yeah.
Obviously, and I knew it couldn't be the dentist lady because she's a complete dumbass and she's sat in prison at the moment anyway. And so it was just, you're just starting to cut down your prime suspects. Now, the lawyer sets up a meeting with Bernice and they meet up at the aquarium and obviously, they're discussing about obviously trying to find the killers. But the way that the film starts to show the lawyer, it's just kind of like a really ominous feeling about him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But he kind of tells her to disappear, to get out of town.
Yeah.
And that'll be the best for everyone. And, and Bernie's not having any of it.
No, she decides that she's going to look for the artist known as Greybow, and also look into the bartender of a certain bar known as Roddy, and how the ex-husband was kind of in league with them about some stuff.
Yeah.
So Bernice starts to do her scouting of the artist's apartment, and like how obvious, like I know the film, like you said, the film's giving us red herrings, but it's like how obvious could you make this guy look like the killer any more than...
He's got that arrangement of tools on the side,
Yeah.
which just look like the murder weapon,
Yeah,
the dentistry stuff.
He's got a fucking Rottweiler ready to rip your
That
throat
he's
out.
feeding raw meat to, yeah.
So when he gets the fucking meat cleaver out, and he's just like, bang! I'm like, Bernice, you need to get out of here. There's always that one line that she's always dropping throughout the film, isn't it? That started to get annoying, where she was just like, oh, I need to stop doing this.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop then! Stop!
But of course she breaks into the artist's place late at night through the ventilation.
Yeah.
She drops all the chickens for the dog and grabs, the potential murder weapons, and it's like, yeah, it's evidence.
Yeah. And she gives it to Ray, the ex-cop, and he passes it on to John Goodman and his partner so that they can arrest the artist. But, twist, the artist has turned up dead. And so you're like, okay, so it's not him, obviously.
So it's definitely the barman then.
Yeah, it's got to be the bartender. And then when Bernice breaks into his place, she comes across plates for making fake money. And I'm like, where the fuck did this storyline come from? There are fake money making plates involved in all this, and we watch the bartender get pulled off by what I'm guessing are mafia goons,
right.
And he gets taken off, and I'm like, so who's left? Who murdered his husband? The dentist is released from jail, and all she wants is a nice hot bath. And so her and the lawyer head up to her apartment, and when they get inside, they encounter Bernice. And Bernice starts to question the dentist about, why she was at the apartment that night. And it's revealed to us, the audience, that the ex-wife turned up at the apartment, wanted to have sex with the husband one last time, and she left. And that's, she wasn't there for the murder. But we hear on the TV, here's Johnny. And you put two and two together and you realize that the lawyer's last name is Carson. And Johnny Carson TV show. It's an American thing. I don't know. And Bernice realizes this. This is the whole crux. And she goes, it was him. But she doesn't fully reveal it at this point. Instead, she sets up a meeting in the early hours of the morning in a park to meet up with the lawyer. And it's...
You soon realise that she's wearing a wire, that she's trying to get him to talk.
Yeah, and reveal that he killed the ex-husband because it turns out that he was in a gay relationship with him.
What a twist.
Yeah. I did there's a whole action sequence towards this end now, which was cool. I mean, Ray tries to chase after her while she's fighting with Carson. Bobcat Goldthwait comes out of nowhere with a car and smashes into Carson's car so that he can't escape. And then they have this fight in the river, and you think that he's actually drowned her at one point. But she just gets up, and Whoopi Goldberg just looks mad.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
He almost tried to kill her and failed, so it's time to run.
Like, I'm going to whoop your ass. And, you know, it comes back to the whole, she was boxing champion, and she whoops his ass, and they arrest him. And I like this whole ending where she tells Carl to hold the bin lid. And every time she cuts to Ray, he just keeps banging him with the bin lid.
You don't see it, but you hear it. You hear the sound. And she's like, look, I told you to stop hitting him. And he's like, well, I think he moved just a little bit. So
Just a little bit, yeah.
And yeah, that's how the film ends. Like,
Yeah.
I was waiting for kind of an epilogue, you know, something.
I did, yeah.
But as soon as the camera started to pan out and up, I was just like, oh, it's over.
Like, she started feeling up Ray towards the end as well. Like, they were best buddies.
Right.
Which I was like, okay, that's cool. But there hadn't been enough relationship build-up between the two of them to make me really care that they were buddies at the end. I mean, I suppose she's really happy because you find out that he's going to edit out anything about the jewellery in the wiretap. And so it'll clear Bernice's name, plus she'll keep all of the jewellery from the dentist. And we don't know what happens to the dentist. I mean, does she go to jail?
Exactly, there's no epilogue. It just kind of just ends.
It just ends.
Yeah. So do you have any favourite or memorable scenes from the film, Iain?
I have a few. Most of them are just like the massive big comedy moments. I like the trying to steal the books, where he's like, fuck you, lady. And she's like, no, fuck you. And she pulls out the gun. And he's fucking shitting himself, and you kind of get it from there where Bernice, is not somebody to be trifled with. She's seen some shit. She'll take care of herself. This is her store, but I still couldn't swing the fact that it was like Batman. Like she owns her own store. During the day, she's a bookstore owner, and by night, she's a cat burglar or Catwoman, I suppose. Why did I say Batman? The dentist sequence, that was awkward to sit through. Like, I don't really like the dentist anyway. And still watching it like old.
So why is that one of your favourites?
Well, you said memorable,
true, okay.
Like it was like a really long sequence of her injecting her in the mouth, and then you hear the machine like, and you're like, oh god, this is gonna hurt. That was fun. The fight between Ray and Bernice in the bookstore. Captain Harris getting his ass whooped. I see a lot of familiarization between Ray and Bernice and Captain Harris and Hooks from Police Academy. In Police Academy, Hooks is always the sweet little quiet one, and then every now and again she just shouts and puts something on Captain Harris, and he falls over. So in this sequence, Whoopi Goldberg's like, don't come near me, I'll whoop your ass. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And she whoops his fucking ass. John Goodman and his partner and all the cops in Bernice's apartment. What are we looking for? Burglary tools, jewellery, black women. I just thought that was really funny. I'm like, okay.
What are we looking for?
Jewelry, burglary tools, dope. What else?
Black woman.
Black woman.
Carl opening the door to John Goodman and his partner. I can't remember the partner's name. I think I did wiki her, but she's not really a well-known actress. And he doesn't actually say his partner's name throughout the...
No.
Like, we don't even work out if they're like Smith and Weston or fucking, MIB and whatever. They're just... Like, at one point, like, he's carrying a shotgun. He just looked like a thug.
Right.
And it was the badge around his neck that was like, oh, he's a cop.
That's when he's walking across the street, like he's trying to be incognito with it. And I'm like, what?
What is he going to terminate her fucking
Right.
apartment? But when Carl opens the door and he's hungover and he's screaming at them, and then they drag him into the police station, and he has this whole, Bobcat Goldthwait, even though he must find it awkward to talk or do really long pieces of dialogue, or maybe he finds it easy, I don't know, but he just delivers this whole piece to John Goodman, and it really looked like John Goodman was trying his best not to break down in laughter.
Yeah.
And I suppose my last favourite scene is the whole ending. Like the film was way too long. I felt that it was way too long, but then the whole mystery build up at the end with kind of like the foggy, misty park. Then everybody kind of gets their little action piece. G.W. Bailey's running around after the jewels. Carl gets to save Bernice's life, and then Bernice kicks some ass, and it's all tied up in a nice big red bow.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have very many memorable sequences from the film. I
No.
think it's entirely forgettable.
Yeah, it kind
Um,
of is.
I mean, we forgot the entire kind of chase sequence with the police cars
Oh,
and
God,
the motorbike, and
Yeah.
it's like great. You know, it's the only big action set piece of the film, and we just breeze right past it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It is so mediocre. You know, I really didn't find the comedy in here. The only sequence I kind of made a mental note of was Guinan and Neelix in a bar. You know, it's just just the novelty of it was it.
That's really like the best bit of this whole film.
Exactly.
actually. Neelix and Guinan in a bar.
Which is why, I don't recommend Burglar. This was a waste of time. It's not a film I recommend in the slightest. It's dull, it's unimaginative trash, with no humour, no real tangible plot. The acting is fine, but the script and the dialogue is just boring and lifeless.
Yeah.
This insipid film is devoid of creativity, and it lacks any style or substance. I barely managed to even enjoy the 80s nostalgia and struggled to remain focused on this film to its witless conclusion.
There was way too much 80s music as well.
Yeah,
Like, there was a lot.
I usually enjoy that.
Yeah.
But no.
No, that was like, after a while I was just like, is this soundtrack or background music or what?
Right. I think I'm more negative on this film than maybe the film deserves, but that was because it was so mediocre and it was just a waste of talent and time. Avoid this mess of a film. It's not recommended.
I don't recommend this movie, but then again, on a side note, it's not the worst movie ever made, and so you could, if you were kind of interested in seeing what else Whoopi Goldberg did in her career, this is one of those movies. But then it goes up there with that fucking dinosaur movie. You know, it's like Gary said, like the acting's really good, the comedy in its place, you know, makes you laugh. But I felt it was way too long. I mean, I paused it at one point and I was like, have I still got that fucking long to go? You know, the plot is nowhere as good as Jumpin' Jack Flashes. Jumpin' Jack Flashes, even though it's crazy, you know, is so easier to follow than this, which jumps all over the place. And you're really just looking for who killed the ex-husband, but then all this other stuff happens that the ex-husband was involved in that hasn't been brought in, but brought in at this point to kind of extend the movie an extra 5 or 10 minutes. You're sat there just like, oh, for fuck's sake, Whoopi Goldberg, please just do something funny. And she doesn't, because it felt like she wasn't the comedy in this film. She was the action star. You know, like Gary said, we had this whole fucking chase sequence. It was great, but from behind, you knew it wasn't her. And from the front, you knew she wasn't chasing the sequences. So, like, I'd rather watch the one in Lethal Weapon 3, if I'm honest. Or, you know, Terminator 2's. This one's really, really forgettable. John Goodman was funny in it, but I don't know what his character was called. And, like did he even work for the same department that they're set in? The San Francisco fucking police department? Like, I didn't even realize they were in San Francisco until they did the chase sequence. Yeah. And they started doing all these jumps. And I'm like, oh, they're in San Francisco. That's good. Yeah, it's not great.
No. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
How's it going?
Not so good.
I can see people in there. It looks like a people aquarium.
Let him go as soon as possible.